Disclaimer.
Hell showed me what my phone did to us.
My name is Jaylon Reeves Carter. I am 29 years old. I died for 8 minutes on November 22, 2023 in Auckland, New Zealand.
For 3 years, I stood behind a pulpit every Sunday and told teenagers to guard their hearts. Before I begin, please subscribe so more people can hear testimonies like this. I preached about purity. I talked about spiritual warfare. I warned them about the traps of the enemy. And every single word I spoke was true, but I was not living it. My wife Amara and I looked like the perfect couple. We served together. We smiled in church photos. We prayed before meals. But late at night, when the house went quiet and the glow of our phones lit up the darkness, we were both feeding something we refused to name. I told myself it was harmless. Just a screen. Just a few minutes. Just stress relief after a long day of ministry. I convinced myself I could stop whenever I wanted. I convinced myself it did not affect my marriage. I convinced myself God understood my struggle. But deep inside, beneath every excuse I built, I knew I was lying. I felt it every time I turned away from Amara in bed. I felt it every time I opened my Bible and the words felt empty. I felt it every time I prayed and heard nothing but silence. The truth was, I was drifting. And she was drifting too. We just never told each other. We each carried our secrets alone, buried under shame, hidden behind ministry. And the distance between us grew wider every single night. I ignored the conviction. I ignored the heaviness in my chest when I preached. I ignored the way my prayers felt like they were hitting a ceiling. I told myself I had time. I told myself I would change tomorrow. I told myself I could handle this alone. I was wrong. It happened on November 22, 2023. I was leading a youth group retreat in the Waitakere Ranges, just outside Auckland. 17 teenagers. 2 other leaders. A weekend of worship, teaching, and hiking through some of the most beautiful trails in New Zealand. The morning started with prayer. The sun broke through the clouds. The air smelled like wet earth and pine. We sang. We laughed. I felt normal. Like everything was fine. Like I was still the man everyone thought I was. We hiked along the Hillary Trail, a narrow path that winds through dense forest and over slippery rocks. The teens were ahead of me, talking, taking photos, full of energy. I walked slower, lost in my thoughts. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A notification. I should not have looked. But I did. Just for a second. Just a glance. And in that second, my foot slipped. Wet moss. Loose rocks. My body tilted forward. I reached for a branch, missed. The ground disappeared beneath me. I fell. 15 feet down. My back hit a boulder. My head cracked against stone. And everything stopped. The sound of the forest faded. The voices of the teenagers became distant echoes. My vision blurred. I tried to breathe, but my chest would not move. I felt my heart stutter once, twice, and then, nothing. My body went still. But I was still awake. I could see everything. My body lay crumpled on the rocks below. Blood pooled beneath my head. One of the leaders was screaming my name. The teenagers were crying, scrambling down the slope, phones out, calling for help. I wanted to tell them I was okay. I wanted to move. I wanted to breathe. But I could not. My soul hovered above my body like smoke, weightless, untethered, disconnected from everything physical. I could see their hands shaking as they checked my pulse. I could see their tears. I could hear their prayers. God, please, please bring him back, one of the girls was sobbing into her hands. A boy I had mentored for 2 years was on his knees, begging God not to let me die. And I wanted to reach out, but my hands passed through them like air. I was there, but I was not. I was present, but invisible. And then I felt it. A pull. Not from above. From below. It started as a whisper in my chest, a cold, heavy weight pressing down on my spirit. I tried to resist. I tried to stay near my body. But the pull grew stronger. It was not a fall. It was not gravity. It was something deliberate. Something that knew my name. The light around me began to fade. The voices of the teenagers grew muffled, like I was sinking underwater. I could still see them, but they were getting farther away. And the pull was dragging me down. The air thickened. It became harder to move, harder to think. The temperature shifted. At first, it was just warm. Then it was hot. Then it was burning. I looked down, and the ground beneath me was no longer forest. It was stone. Molten. Cracked. Glowing faintly with heat that rose in slow, suffocating waves. Smoke curled upward without flame. The shadows around me were not still. They moved. They breathed. They watched. And in the distance, I heard it. Screaming. Not loud. Not violent. Just endless. Hollow. Echoing. Like voices trapped in a loop they could not escape. My soul descended faster now. The pull was relentless. I tried to stop. I tried to pray. But the words would not come. My mind was blank. My heart, if I still had one, was pounding with a fear I had never known. And then my feet touched the ground. The heat shot through me like fire in my veins. The air pressed down on my chest. I could barely stand. The weight of it all, was unbearable. I looked around. Silhouettes. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. Standing alone. Trapped. Silent. Each one carrying the weight of something they had fed, something they had hidden, something they had refused to let go. And I realized. This was not a nightmare. This was not a vision. This was real. I was in hell. And deep inside my soul, I knew exactly why I was here. Then I felt a presence beside me. The presence was not something I saw. It was something I felt. Like standing too close to a fire, but the heat was not on my skin. It was inside my chest. Inside my soul. The air around me shifted. The shadows that had been moving stopped. The distant screams faded into a low hum. And I knew, without turning, that I was no longer alone. My knees wanted to buckle. My spirit, if that is what I was now, trembled. I tried to speak. I tried to ask who was there. But my voice was gone. Stripped away. And then, the voice spoke. Not out loud. Not through my ears. It spoke directly into the core of my being. Into the place where no lie can survive. Into the place where every truth I had buried was waiting. The voice said, "You opened the door, and darkness walked in." I wanted to deny it. I wanted to say I did not know. I wanted to say I tried to stop. But the words died before they could form. Because I knew. I had always known. The voice continued. Calm. Steady. Unshakable. You stood before them and preached truth, while living a lie. My chest tightened. Every Sunday flashed before me. Every sermon. Every youth group talk. Every moment I stood behind that pulpit and told teenagers to guard their hearts, while mine was divided. While mine was compromised. While mine was feeding the very thing I warned them against. The weight of it crushed me, I wanted to fall. I wanted to disappear. But there was nowhere to go. Nowhere to hide. The voice spoke again. What you fed in secret became the master of your soul. And I broke. Not physically. But something inside me shattered. Because it was true. Every word. Every accusation. Every truth I had been running from for 3 years. I had fed it. I had nurtured it. I had opened the door, and I had kept it open. Night after night. Click after click. Lie after lie. And now, I was standing in the consequence. The presence did not move. But I felt it shift. Like it was turning toward me. Like it was preparing to show me something I was not ready to see. The voice said, "Look." And the darkness in front of me parted. Like a curtain being pulled back. Like a veil lifting. And I saw a vast space. Endless. Filled with silhouettes. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. Married couples. Standing back to back. Close enough to touch, but they could not. Something invisible separated them. I stepped closer. My feet moved without my permission. And as I got closer, I saw what stood between them. Screens. Flickering. Glowing. Displaying images. The images they had consumed. The content they had watched. The secrets they had kept. And behind each person, standing in the shadows, were figures. Dark. Tall. Feeding. Not on their bodies. On their shame. On their guilt. On the secrecy. On the lust. Growing stronger with every click. Every return. Every compromise. I wanted to look away. But I could not. The voice spoke again. This is not punishment. This is consequence. They chose the door. The door chose what entered. I saw a young couple. Maybe in their 30s. They looked normal. Like people I would see at church. Like people I would invite to dinner. But between them was a wall. Not brick. Not stone. Spiritual. Built from every night they turned away from each other. Every time they chose a screen over intimacy. Every moment they replaced connection with consumption. And the figures behind them whispered. I could hear them now. Faint. Persistent. You deserve this. It is harmless. No one will know. The couple could not hear the whispers. But they obeyed them. I saw another couple. Older. Maybe 20 years married. They stood with their arms crossed. No screens between them anymore. Just emptiness. The love was gone. Not stolen. Starved. The voice said. They did not fall because of an affair. They fell because of small compromises made in the dark. I saw a pastor. Not me. Someone else. Standing with his wife. Both of them serving. Both of them smiling in the vision. But in their home, in their bedroom, the same darkness. The same figures. The same slow erosion. He preached on Sundays. She led worship. But at night, they were prisoners. And they did not even know it. The voice continued. Millions fall because they believe private sin has no public cost. But every choice creates a pathway. And darkness follows the path you build. I felt my soul breaking. Because I saw it now. I saw the progression. Stage 1. Curiosity. Just a click. Just a look. Just once. Stage 2. Habit. Every few days. Then every day. then multiple times a day. Stage 3. Dependency. Trying to stop. Failing. Trying again. Failing again. The shame growing. The secrecy deepening. Stage 4. Spiritual bondage. The door fully open. The presence fully entered. Prayers blocked. Intimacy dead. Connection severed. Stage 5. Marital death. Still living together. Still going through the motions. But the love, gone. Replaced by coexistence. By routine. By emptiness. The voice said, "You invited this. Both of you." Every click was permission. Every return was an open door. And the enemy does not need to destroy your marriage with affairs. He only needs you to feed your mind poison until love dies slowly. And then, the vision shifted. The couples faded. The space changed. And I saw my own home. My bedroom. In Auckland. The room Amara and I shared. The bed we slept in. And I saw us. Both of us. Lying on separate sides. Both on our phones. Both waiting for the other to fall asleep. Both hiding. Both feeding. Both prisoners. And between us, standing in the corner of the room, was a figure. Tall. Silent. Patient. Its presence was suffocating. It did not attack. It did not speak. It just fed. Off my shame. Off her shame. Off our secrecy. Off the distance growing between us. I saw the nights I turned away from her. The nights she reached for me and I pretended to be asleep. The mornings we woke up and did not speak. The prayers we stopped praying. The conversations we stopped having. The intimacy we stopped sharing. I saw myself. Preaching on Sunday. Leading worship. Counseling teenagers about purity. And then, coming home. Waiting for her to sleep. Opening my phone. Feeding the very thing I warned others against. I saw Amara. Struggling. Alone. Thinking she was the only one. Carrying her own shame. Her own guilt. Her own secret. Both of us trapped. Both of us silent. Both of us slowly dying. And the figure in the corner, growing stronger. The voice spoke again. And this time, it was not calm. It was grieved. You had a choice. Every single night. You could have confessed. You could have fought together. You could have closed the door. But you chose silence. You chose shame. You chose the secret over the surrender. And now, look what you built. I collapsed. Not physically. My soul could not stand anymore. The weight was unbearable. I wanted to scream. I wanted to go back. I wanted to warn her. I wanted to close the door. But I was here. In hell. Watching the consequence of every choice I justified. Every lie I believed. Every night I chose the screen over my wife. The voice said, "This is what you refused to see. And this is only the beginning." And then, the vision shifted again. This time, it was not about what I had done. It was about what I had become. Memories flooded my mind. Not random. Chronological. The first time I clicked. I was 24. Stressed. Tired. Alone. Just curiosity. Just once. The first return. A week later. Then 3 days later. Then every night. The first lie I told myself. I can stop any time. I am not hurting anyone. This is normal. The first night I turned away from Amara. She wanted to be close. I was tired. I said I had a headache. But the truth, I had already fed. And I had nothing left to give her. The first time my prayer felt empty. I opened my Bible. The words were there. But they did not reach me. Because my heart was divided. The first sermon I preached while hiding. I stood in front of 50 teenagers and talked about guarding your heart. And the whole time, I was a hypocrite. The first time a kid in youth group came to me and confessed he was struggling with lust. And I said all the right things. I prayed with him. I gave him accountability steps. But I did not tell him. I was struggling too. I stayed silent. Because I was a coward. The first time Amara tried to talk to me about us. About the distance. About how we were not connecting anymore. And I brushed it off. I said I was fine. I said we were fine. But we were not. And I knew it. I saw every moment. Every choice. Every compromise. Every lie. And I realized. I was not a victim. I was not weak. I was not trying. I was choosing. Choosing the lie over the truth. Choosing the secret over the surrender. Choosing the poison over the marriage. Choosing myself over God. And slowly, I became what I fed. I became cold. I became numb. I became stone. The voice said, "You see it now." Every choice. Every compromise. Every moment you chose the lie over the truth. You were not a victim. You were a participant. And you became what you fed. I wanted to argue. I wanted to defend myself. But I could not. Because it was true. Every word. I was not the man I thought I was. I was not the pastor I pretended to be. I was not the husband Amara deserved. I had become a shell. A performer. A liar. And the worst part, I did it to myself. If you are still here, thank you. Please subscribe if you want more testimonies like this. Because what I am about to tell you is the only reason I am alive to warn you. The weight became unbearable. The heat intensified. The ground beneath me cracked. I felt myself sinking. Not falling. Sinking. Like the stone beneath me was pulling me deeper. The screams grew louder. The shadows closed in. And I realized, this was it. This was where I would stay. Forever. Trapped in the consequence of every choice I refused to change. I stopped fighting. I stopped resisting. Because deep inside, I believed I deserved this. This was justice. This was truth. I had my chance. I wasted it. I thought of Amara. I thought of the youth group. I thought of every person I let down. And I whispered into the darkness. I am sorry. But just as the darkness closed in completely, just as I accepted my fate, something shifted. A sound cut through the screams. Not from hell. From above. A voice. Different from before. Authoritative. Compassionate. Undeniable. And then, a crack appeared in the darkness. Light poured in like water. The heat recoiled. The shadows scattered. And a hand, strong, steady, scarred, reached down into the pit. The voice said, "Your time is not finished. You will warn them." And then everything exploded into light. The hand gripped my soul with a force I cannot describe. Not gentle. Not soft. Absolute. The fingers wrapped around me like iron, but they were warm. Not the burning heat of hell. Something different. Something that felt like home. The voice spoke again. Louder now. Filling every corner of the darkness. Your time is not finished. You will warn them. And then I was pulled. Violently. Upward. The ground beneath me cracked and split. The shadows screamed. The heat clawed at me, trying to drag me back down. But the hand was stronger. The light that poured from above was blinding. Not painful, but exposing. It burned away the darkness like paper in a flame. I felt myself rising. Fast. Too fast. The screams faded. The smoke disappeared. The molten stone became a distant memory. And then, everything went white. Pure. Overwhelming. I could not see. I could not think. I could only feel. The pull. The speed. The sensation of being torn from one realm and thrust into another. My chest tightened. My lungs. I did not have lungs, but something inside me screamed for air. And then I felt it. My body. Cold. Wet. Broken. Lying on rocks. The hand released me. And my soul slammed back into my flesh. The impact was violent. My back arched. My chest exploded with pain. My lungs expanded so fast I thought they would burst. Air rushed in like fire. I gasped. Choked. Coughed. My heart, silent for 8 minutes, jolted back to life with a painful thud that shook my entire body. My eyes snapped open. Rain hit my face. Cold. Sharp. Real. Voices. Shouting. Crying. Overlapping. Someone was screaming my name. I tried to focus. My vision blurred. Shapes moved above me. Green uniforms. Flashlights. Red and blue lights flashing through the trees. A paramedic leaned over me. Her face pale. Her hands shaking. Stay with us. Stay with us. Can you hear me? I tried to speak. My throat was raw. My voice barely a whisper. I saw. She pressed an oxygen mask over my face. Do not talk. Just breathe. You are okay. You are back. But I was not okay. I was alive, but I was not okay. Because what I saw, what I witnessed, was burned into my soul. And I knew. I had to tell them. I had to warn everyone. They loaded me into the ambulance. The youth group stood in a circle, soaking wet from the rain. Faces streaked with tears. One of the girls, a 15-year-old named Kira, was on her knees. Still praying. Still begging God to keep me alive. I wanted to tell her. He already did. One of the leaders, Marcus, climbed into the ambulance with me. His hand gripped mine. His voice shaking. You died, man. You were gone. We thought we lost you. I squeezed his hand. Weak. Barely any strength. But enough. Enough to let him know I heard him. The paramedic started and checked my vitals. Radioed the hospital. I heard fragments. Male. 29. Blunt force trauma. Cardiac arrest. 8 minutes down. Revived on scene. 8 minutes. I was dead for 8 minutes. But it felt like hours. Like days. Like a lifetime. The ambulance doors closed. The siren wailed. And as we sped down the highway toward Auckland City Hospital, I closed my eyes. Not to sleep. But to remember. To hold on to every detail. Every word. Every vision. Because I knew, this was not just for me. This was a message. And I had to deliver it. I woke up 3 days later. The hospital room was quiet. Sterile. White walls. Machines beeping softly. Sunlight streaming through the window. And Amara, sitting in a chair beside my bed. Her head resting on the edge of the mattress. Her hand holding mine. Her eyes closed. She looked exhausted. Like she had not slept in days. I squeezed her hand. Gently. Her eyes opened. Bloodshot. Swollen from crying. And when she saw me awake, she broke. Jaylon, her voice cracked. She stood. Leaned over me. Her hands cupping my face. Tears falling onto my chest. I thought I lost you. I thought you were gone. I tried to speak. My throat was dry. She grabbed a cup of water. Helped me drink. And then I said the words I had been rehearsing in my mind since I woke up in that ambulance. Amara. I need to tell you something. And you need to tell me too. She froze. Her eyes searched mine. Confused. Scared. I took a breath. And I confessed. Everything. Every night. Every click. Every lie. Every moment I turned away from her. Every time I chose a screen over her touch. Every secret I buried. I told her. And I watched her face change. From confusion, to shock, to heartbreak, to tears. And then, she whispered. I did too. The room went silent. I stared at her. She stared at me. And in that moment, we both realized. We were not alone. We had both been prisoners. We had both been hiding. We had both been feeding the same darkness. And we had both been too ashamed to speak. We cried. Together. For the first time in years, we were honest. Fully. Completely. And it hurt. But it also set us free. We sat in that hospital room for hours. Talking. Confessing. Crying. Forgiving. Amara told me about the nights she waited for me to fall asleep. The romance novels she read. The videos she watched. The shame she carried alone. She told me she wanted to tell me 100 times. But she was afraid. Afraid I would judge her. Afraid I would leave her. Afraid I would think she was broken. And I told her. I was afraid of the same things. We had been living parallel lives. Both struggling. Both silent. Both slowly dying. And the enemy, he did not need to destroy us with an affair. He just needed us to stay silent. To stay separate. To stay ashamed. But now, we were done with silence. The next day, I called my accountability partner. A man named David from church. I had known him for 5 years. But I had never been fully honest with him. I told him everything. He listened. He did not judge. He did not lecture. He just said, "Thank you for trusting me. Let us fight this together." Amara did the same. She called her friend Tasha. A woman she had been in Bible study with for years. And for the first time, she confessed. Tasha cried with her. Prayed with her. And connected her with a women's accountability group. We deleted every app. Every account. Every doorway. We installed Covenant Eyes on both our phones. We gave each other full access. No passwords. No secrets. No hiding. We started praying together every night, Out loud. Vulnerable. Honest. We read scripture together. We talked about what we were feeling. What we were struggling with. What we were tempted by. And we fought. Together. Not perfectly. There were nights I was tempted. Nights the pull came back. Nights I wanted to return to the old patterns. But I did not fight alone anymore. I texted David. I told Amara. I prayed. And the temptation, it lost its power. Because darkness only thrives in secrecy. And we were done hiding. 3 weeks after I left the hospital, I stood in front of our church. Small congregation. Maybe 100 people. I asked for time to share my testimony. The pastor hesitated. He knew I had died. He knew I had a near-death experience. But he did not know what I was going to say. I stood at the front. Amara beside me. And I told them. Everything. The fall. The descent. The vision. The couples trapped. The darkness I saw. The doors we had opened. The confession. The rescue. The warning. The room was silent. Some people cried. Some people looked uncomfortable. Some people looked convicted. After the service, a man in his 40s approached me. His hands shaking. His voice barely a whisper. I needed to hear that. I have been struggling for 10 years. I thought I was the only one. I looked him in the eyes. You are not alone. And you do not have to fight alone. He broke down. Right there in the church lobby. And I prayed with him. That week, I received 12 messages. Emails. Texts. Direct messages on social media. Men and women. Married. Single. Young. Old. All saying the same thing. Thank you for speaking. I have been struggling too. One message was from a woman named Sarah. She said, my husband and I have been drifting for 3 years. We could not figure out why. After hearing your testimony, we both confessed. We were both hiding the same thing. You saved our marriage. I cried when I read that. Because that is why I was sent back. Not for me. For them. For her. For every couple sitting in silence. For every person fighting alone. For every marriage slowly dying because of secrets buried in shame. I started sharing my testimony everywhere I could. Youth groups. Men's groups. Marriage retreats. Podcasts. Anywhere people would listen. Some churches invited me. Some churches rejected me. They said the topic was too explicit. Too uncomfortable. Too controversial. But I did not stop. Because hell is real. And the consequences of what we feed in private are eternal. I met a young couple, newlyweds, at a marriage conference in Wellington. They told me they had started watching content together. They thought it would help their intimacy. But instead, it destroyed it. They stopped connecting. They started performing. They lost the sacredness of what God designed. After hearing my testimony, they repented. They deleted everything. They started counseling. And 6 months later, they sent me a message. Our marriage is alive again. Thank you for being brave enough to speak. I realized, the enemy wants us silent. He wants us ashamed. He wants us isolated. Because shame grows in the dark. But when we bring it into the light, when we confess, when we fight together, the enemy loses. Amara and I are not perfect. We still have hard days. We still face temptation. But we are free. Free from secrecy. Free from shame. Free from the prison we built with our own choices. And our marriage, it is not just surviving. It is thriving. We pray together every night. We talk about everything. We are vulnerable. We are honest. We are present. And the intimacy we lost, it is coming back. Slowly. Beautifully. Sacredly. Because we closed the door. And we let the light back in. I think about that moment in hell. The couples standing back to back. Unable to touch. Separated by the screens they chose. And I thank God, that is not our story anymore. We could have ended up there. We were heading there. But God gave me a warning. And I came back. Not because I deserved it. But because He is merciful. And because there are millions of people, sitting in the same trap we were in. And they need to hear, you are not alone. You do not have to fight alone. There is a way out. But you have to choose it. You have to confess. You have to close the door. You have to fight. And you have to do it now. Because time is shorter than you think. And the enemy is patient. He will wait. He will whisper. He will convince you that you can stop tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. And before you know it, you have lost everything that mattered. If you are hearing this, it is for a reason. Do not ignore the conviction you are feeling right now. Do not wait until it is too late. Do not tell yourself it is harmless. Do not believe the lie that private sin has no cost. Examine your heart today. What are you feeding? What doors have you opened? What darkness have you invited in? And if you know deep down that something is wrong, do not wait another night. Confess it. Close the door. Fight for your marriage. Fight for your soul. Turn back. Choose life. I was given a second chance. You have one right now. Do not waste it. Tell me where you are watching from. I want to pray for you tonight. And stay connected. There are more warnings people need to hear. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, and watch the next testimony on your screen.